The warning unheeded. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy as representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations gathered for an emergency session. The enormous amphitheater, carved from a single asteroid and lined with luminescent crystal, had never held such a tense atmosphere in its 5,000-year history. High Chancellor Vex, an ancient being composed of swirling gases contained within an exosuit of living metal, glided to the central podium. The chamber fell silent. Honored representatives, Vex began, voice resonating through translators in hundreds of languages. We have called this session to discuss a Level 1 warning regarding a pre-FTL species from the third planet of a yellow star in the Orion Arm. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber, showing images of a blue-green world with swirling white clouds. They call themselves humans, Vex continued. While their technology is primitive by our standards, their psychological profile warrants extreme caution. The Council's recommendation is to classify their system as prohibited under Galactic Statute 447. No contact is to be initiated until they achieve independent FTL travel. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A prohibited classification was rare and required unanimous council approval. From the Sarkian delegation, General Krall rose to his full height, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. The insectoid commander's mandibles clicked in what many recognized as amusement. With respect, High Chancellor, Krall's translator conveyed, what possible threat could these primitives pose to the Sarkian Empire? Our civilization has conquered 47 star systems. These humans haven't even colonized their own moon permanently. Elder Mira, one of the Council's most ancient members, stepped forward. Her translucent form glowed with a soft blue light as she addressed the chamber. The humans possess a trait we have rarely encountered. Her gentle voice belied the gravity of her words. When threatened, they do not surrender. When defeated, they do not accept it. They wait. They adapt. They remember. The hologram shifted to historical imagery from Earth's past. Smaller forces defeating larger armies, resistance movements surviving against overwhelming odds, isolated groups enduring extreme conditions. Unlike most rational species, Mira continued, humans can sustain conflict across generations. They pass their grievances to their children, who pass them to their children. We have observed human descendants avenging wrongs committed against ancestors they never met. General Krall's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Sarkian equivalent of dismissive laughter. Primitive tribal behaviors. Nothing our pacification protocols cannot overcome. There is more, Vex interjected. Humans adapt with exceptional speed. Their scientific development has accelerated dramatically in just the past century. Their minds seem uniquely suited to turning almost anything into a weapon. The hologram displayed human history from stone tools to nuclear weapons, a progression that had taken other species 5 times as long to develop. The Council's warning stands, Vex concluded. Humanity should be left to develop on their own terms. They will reach the stars within a century. We will welcome them properly when they do. After the session, Ambassador Lyora of the Trizari approached Elder Mira privately. Unlike most Council species, the Trizari had studied humanity extensively through covert observation posts. The Sarkians will not heed the warning, will they? Lyora asked. No, Mira's form dimmed slightly. General Krall sees only what the Empire wishes to see, an easy conquest. Should we intervene if they move against Earth? Council regulations forbid interference in conflicts between non-member species, Mira replied. But I fear greatly for the Sarkians. They do not understand what they will unleash. 3 cycles later, Lyora stood in her private observatory, watching as a Sarkian battle fleet of 40 vessels emerged from hyperspace near Earth. Each massive ship was nearly a kilometer long, bristling with weapons designed to subjugate far more advanced civilizations than humanity. They will regret this, she whispered to herself. The Council warned them, do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever. The Sarkian invasion began with precision strikes against Earth's major military installations. Within hours, humanity's conventional defenses lay in ruins. General Krall, commanding from his flagship in high orbit, watched with satisfaction as his forces systematically disabled Earth's power grids, communication networks, and transportation hubs. "Status report," he demanded, mandibles clicking rhythmically. "Optimal, General," his second-in-command responded. "Human military response is fragmented and ineffective. Civilian population centers are in disarray. Estimated casualties, 23 million. Acceptable. Begin Phase 2. Landing craft descended on major cities worldwide. The Sarkian ground forces, 12-foot-tall insectoid warriors encased in battle armor, established control zones with brutal efficiency. Resistance was met with immediate and disproportionate force. In the White House Situation Room, what remained of the American leadership gathered around a table littered with emergency reports. President Elena Martinez, her face drawn with exhaustion, studied satellite imagery of the alien occupation. "What are our options, General?" she asked. General Michael Reeves, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, looked grim. "Conventional military response is no longer viable, Madam President. Our forces are at 15% capacity and falling. Nuclear options would kill more of our people than theirs. Then we adapt," Martins replied, her voice hardening. "Initiate Operation Phantom. We may have lost the battle, but this war is just beginning." Around the world, similar conversations occurred in bunkers, caves, and hidden command centers. Humanity had been bloodied but not broken. As the Sarkians established their occupation, they remained unaware that their every move was being watched, analyzed, and catalogued by survivors preparing for resistance. Dr. Aisha Khan, formerly of MIT's Advanced Physics Department, studied the remains of a Sarkian scout vehicle in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Boston. Her makeshift laboratory, powered by jury-rigged generators, hummed with activity as a team of scientists worked around the clock. "The alloy composition is unlike anything in our material science database," she noted, examining a fragment under an electron microscope. "But the molecular structure suggests it could be vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies." In the corner, Captain James Chen, a former Special Forces operative now leading a resistance cell, watched with interest. "Can we use that?" Dr. Khan nodded. "Given time and resources, we might be able to develop a disruptor that could temporarily disable their armor. Not a weapon exactly, but a window of opportunity." "That's all we need," Chen replied, his expression grim. "We're collecting their communication devices too. Some still active. My team has observed patterns in their patrol schedules, shift changes, command protocols. They think we're just hiding and surviving," Dr. Khan said, looking up from her work. "They have no idea we're studying them." The Sarkian occupation had been established for 6 months when the first coordinated resistance strike occurred. In 12 locations simultaneously, small teams of humans attacked Sarkian patrols with improvised electromagnetic pulse devices, temporarily disabling their armor systems. The brief windows of vulnerability were enough for the resistance fighters to eliminate the patrols and capture their weapons and equipment. On his flagship, General Krall received the reports with growing irritation. "Isolated incidents," he dismissed. "Increase patrol strength and implement curfew violations protocols." His intelligence officer, Vrek, seemed less certain. "General, these attacks were coordinated across multiple continents. The humans are communicating despite our jamming of their networks." "Impossible. Their infrastructure is destroyed." "Yet the evidence suggests otherwise," Vrek persisted. "They're adapting to our presence much faster than our models predicted. They're learning our weaknesses." Krall's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "They have no access to our technology. Their primitive weapons are ineffective against our armor." "With respect, General, the reports indicate they used electromagnetic disruptors calibrated specifically to our armor's operating frequencies, technology they didn't possess prior to our arrival." For the first time, Krall felt a flicker of unease. Increase security protocols. Deploy hunter drones in all major settlement zones. I want these resistance cells found and eliminated. But the resistance did not diminish. Instead, it grew more sophisticated. Months passed, and Sarkian casualties mounted. Human scientists, working with captured technology, began developing hybrid weapons that combined Earth materials with Sarkian components. Resistance fighters became increasingly adept at guerrilla tactics, striking vulnerable targets and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. 1 year after the invasion began, humanity achieved its first major victory. Resistance forces around the former city of Shanghai coordinated a massive attack on the regional Sarkian command center. Using retrofitted Sarkian weapons and homemade explosives, they overwhelmed the defenses and captured the facility intact, including its communication arrays and data cores. For the first time, humans gained access to the Sarkians' tactical network. Within hours, resistance cells worldwide began receiving detailed information about troop movements, supply lines, and command protocols. General Krall, faced with the first serious setback of the campaign, gathered his command staff. "The Emperor demands answers," he said, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "How did primitive humans breach one of our most secure installations?" No one had a satisfactory explanation. The Sarkians had underestimated humanity at every turn, and now they were paying the price. What should have been a simple conquest had become a grinding war of attrition against an enemy that refused to acknowledge defeat. As Krall prepared to dispatch reinforcements to Earth, he received an urgent communication from the frontier outposts of the Sarkian Empire. Several colonies had reported attacks by unknown forces using hybrid technology, Sarkian designs modified with human engineering. A cold realization settled over the general. Somehow, against all odds, humans had not only resisted the occupation of their homeworld, but had found a way to strike back at the Sarkian Empire itself. The hunters had become the hunted. The hunt begins. Admiral Teza, newly appointed commander of the Sarkian occupation forces, surveyed the holographic display of Earth with growing concern. After 18 months of conflict, the situation had deteriorated far beyond what the Empire had anticipated. General Krall had been recalled to the capital in disgrace, his promises of a swift victory now a bitter memory. "Status report," Teza demanded, her mandibles clicking in a controlled rhythm that betrayed none of her inner turmoil. "Concerning, Admiral," her intelligence chief replied. "Occupation zones have been reduced by 37%. Supply lines are compromised in all sectors. Ground forces report daily attacks using our own technology against us." A holographic map of Earth was dotted with red indicators showing areas where Sarkian control had been lost or compromised. What had begun as isolated resistance cells had evolved into a coordinated global network that seemed to anticipate Sarkian tactics before they were implemented. Most disturbing of all were the reports from the outer colonies. Somehow, impossibly, humans had acquired spaceflight capabilities and were striking Sarkian outposts with devastating precision. "How are they getting off-planet?" Teza demanded. "Our blockade is impenetrable." Science Officer Mrek, who had been studying human adaptation patterns, stepped forward. "They've reverse-engineered our technology, Admiral, more efficiently than any species we've encountered. The captured command center in Shanghai gave them access to our navigation systems and FTL principles." "That's impossible." Teza's mandibles clicked rapidly in disbelief. "They were pre-spaceflight when we arrived. No species adapts that quickly." "These humans do," Mrek insisted. "They've combined our technology with their own innovative approaches. Their hybrid ships are smaller, faster, and more maneuverable than our standard vessels. They're exploiting weaknesses in our designs that we never addressed because no previous enemy could identify them." In a hardened bunker beneath the ruins of what had once been Geneva, the United Earth Resistance Council convened its monthly strategy session. Representatives from every continent gathered around a table salvaged from the former United Nations building, a symbolic gesture of humanity's new unity. Dr. Aisha Khan, now Director of Adaptive Technologies, presented her latest findings. The Sarkian FTL drive principles are remarkably inefficient, she explained, highlighting a holographic model. Their emphasis on brute force over elegance has given us an opportunity. Our hybrid drives require 80% less power for the same displacement. General James Chen, who had risen to command the global strike force, nodded in satisfaction. The Shanghai raid continues to pay dividends. Every piece of their technology reveals new weaknesses we can exploit. President Martinez, who had survived 3 assassination attempts to become the de facto leader of the United Human Resistance, studied the tactical displays. "What's the status of Operation Harbinger?" "On schedule," Chen replied. "The first fleet is ready. 300 vessels constructed in the lunar shipyards, small, fast, and lethal. The Sarkians still don't know we've established bases on Mars and Europa. Their orbital surveillance is focused on Earth's surface," added Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka, former Japanese naval commander now leading the Space Division. "They're looking for launch facilities, not realizing we've been using their own transport technology to move materials to our off-world construction sites." Martinez's expression was grim but determined. "Begin the operation. It's time to take this war to them." 3 days later, Admiral Teza received the report that would end her career. 300 small vessels, using modified Sarkian FTL technology, had bypassed the Earth blockade and attacked the Sarkian homeworld's orbital defenses. The damage was substantial, but more shocking was the message broadcast on all Sarkian frequencies. "You came to our world uninvited. You killed our people without provocation. You expected submission, but you found resistance. This is just the beginning. We will hunt you to the edge of the galaxy if necessary. There will be no peace until justice is served." The Emperor himself intervened, ordering an immediate withdrawal from Earth to defend the core systems of the Empire. Teza complied, consolidating her forces for the retreat. As the massive Sarkian ships prepared to depart Earth orbit, sensors detected a new threat: thousands of small, stealth devices attaching to their hulls. Explosive devices, Teza realized too late. The detonations were precisely calibrated, damaging propulsion and navigation systems without destroying the vessels completely. As emergency systems engaged, Earth's remaining defense platforms launched a coordinated barrage that further crippled the Sarkian fleet. Trapped in Earth orbit with damaged ships, Teza faced an impossible choice: surrender or be destroyed. With bitter resignation, she opened a channel to the human leadership. President Martinez's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression implacable. "Admiral Teza, your forces are defeated. Your empire abandoned you when they fled our counterattack. Surrender your ships and personnel, and we will show a mercy you never extended to us." On the Sarkian homeworld, Emperor Vexcal watched with mounting horror as reports arrived from across the Empire. Human ships, operating in small, coordinated groups, were attacking Sarkian colonies and outposts throughout controlled space. They struck with surgical precision, neutralizing military targets while largely sparing civilian populations, a restraint the Sarkians had never shown on Earth. "How is this possible?" the Emperor demanded of his military council. "They were primitives, pre-spaceflight savages." Elder General Kraz, a veteran of countless campaigns, answered grimly. "We awakened something, Your Majesty. The humans do not fight like other species. They do not calculate acceptable losses or strategic retreats. They fight with a determination that borders on madness. Then we will crush them with overwhelming force," the Emperor declared. "Mobilize the Grand Fleet. With respect, Your Majesty, the Grand Fleet is already responding to attacks across 17 systems. The humans are not concentrating their forces where we can engage them decisively. They strike, withdraw, and reappear where we are weakest." In the war room of the UES Retribution, Earth's first purpose-built battleship, constructed in the asteroid belt shipyards, Admiral Tanaka reviewed the latest intelligence with his command staff. "The Sarkian Empire is fracturing," he reported. Several of their subjugated worlds have risen in rebellion, inspired by our example. Their supply lines are compromised, and their military response is increasingly disorganized. General Chen studied the strategic display. Their mistake was fundamental. They saw us as primitive because our technology was less advanced. They never understood that technology is just a tool. The human mind, our creativity, adaptability, and determination, that's the real weapon. And our capacity for both vengeance and mercy, President Martinez added, joining the briefing via secure channel. Remember our directive. Military targets only. We're not becoming what they were. We're showing the galaxy a better way. 5 years after the Sarkian invasion of Earth, a different gathering took place in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. Human representatives stood before the assembly, formally recognized for the first time. High Chancellor Vex addressed the chamber. The Council acknowledges humanity's petition for recognition. Though your FTL capability was acquired through unconventional means, the fact remains that you have demonstrated mastery of interstellar travel and established a presence beyond your home system. President Martinez, representing Earth and its now 7 colonies, responded, "We come before this council not seeking revenge for the lack of intervention during the Sarkian invasion, but looking toward a peaceful future among the stars." Elder Mira, who had warned against attacking Earth years before, spoke next. The defeat of the Sarkian Empire has reshaped the power balance in this quadrant. Many worlds once under their dominion now look to Earth for leadership and protection. What does humanity intend for these worlds? Alliance, not dominion, Martins replied firmly. We've established the Sol Accords, a mutual defense and development agreement open to any world that wishes to join. Unlike the Sarkians, we do not conquer. We cooperate. As the session continued, General Krall, now demoted and serving as a minor diplomatic attaché, observed from the shadows of the Sarkian delegation. The once proud warrior had lived to see his empire reduced to a fraction of its former glory, forced to sign humiliating peace terms with the very primitives he had dismissed. The warning of the council echoed in his mind, too late to heed. Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever. In the aftermath of the conflict, that warning spread throughout the galaxy. Other expansionist empires reconsidered plans to exploit primitive worlds. The humans had proven that technological advantage alone did not determine the outcome of conflict. Determination, adaptability, and the long memory of wrongs endured. These were weapons no technology could match. Humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage had changed the equation forever. They had arrived not through natural progression, but forged in the fire of invasion, their technological development accelerated by desperate necessity. What might have taken them another century of peaceful development had been compressed into years of war. As human ships began appearing in systems throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors but as traders, explorers, and allies, a new phrase entered the diplomatic lexicon of spacefaring civilizations. Treat humans with respect, for they forgive but never forget. Earn their friendship, for they are steadfast allies. But never, never provoke their wrath, for once roused to war, they will hunt you to the edge of the galaxy. The Sarkians had learned this lesson too late. The rest of the galaxy took note and treated the newcomers with appropriate caution and respect. Humanity had arrived among the stars not with a whisper, but with a roar that still echoed across the void.